So before I get into pretty much a product review, I want to share some information that I gathered on different power steering options, steering upgrades, I should say, to first gen Camaros F bodies. Spent a week and a half to 2 weeks kind of just really searching forums, reviews, anything I could find on a bunch of different options, which surprisingly there are quite a few. The nice part about GM is that they like to use the same parts for a long time. So making interchanges is fairly simple for a lot of these cars. They use the same kind of 800, 700 series boxes for decades, from the 60s, early 60s up and through the 70s. So fitment wise, there's a lot of interchange available, and they also use it through different manufacturers. I want to just kind of take a few minutes and give a little bit of background on the decision I made, the company I decided on, why it was, why I didn't go cheaper routes or more expensive routes, that kind of stuff. So I'll try to keep it compacted as much as I can, and we're going to start at the bottom of the barrel with used boxes. A lot of people are out there wanting to put a box from the mid 80s on their super nice cars. If you're in a budget, it's an option. But what I've found is that's a very unrealistic option at this point. If it was something, a lot of the people were saying, like the third gen Camaro boxes, that's a real popular swap. The FE2 package was the sports steering, so it had the high effort. It was just a good sporty feeling box. Third gens are awesome, I love them. That was my first option, kind of to the rabbit hole that I went down. The thing that kind of made sense after a while is you're not going to find one in a junkyard. Those cars are gone. A lot of the people, reviews and posts and forums on the swaps telling you what parts you needed interchange wise, it was all from like the mid 2000s, 2005, 2008. So that was kind of, you're not going to find one. I can't anyways. I could find a couple boxes on eBay or whatever, but you're still taking a gamble, and they're still 150 bucks, something like that, for even just a used that you're gonna have to get rebuilt. I did entertain it, looking at rebuilding, sending it off, having it gone through. You're probably gonna be $300, 350 bucks on a good rebuild. So there you are, approaching 500 bucks. So I kind of ruled that out. There was also some people saying that the Jeep Cherokee boxes are good, which would also be an improvement over stock. But again, it's a mid 90s, they're going to be old, 25, 30-year-old box. You're going to have to get it rebuilt. Price-wise, doesn't make much sense. Next logical thing I went to was a Reman box. So jumped on Rock Auto, got a listing for a handful of different options, saw the FE2s, thought, cool, maybe I'll get a car done box. But then you start thinking, well, from the mid 80s, how many of those cores are floating around in their rebuild factory in Mexico or wherever it is? So the chances of that happening, that you're actually going to get a real Iroc internal box, is probably zero at this point anyways, or pretty darn close. I did see a couple of guys' discussions. There was somebody that went to like 12 different auto parts chains, the Napas and O'Reillys, getting that part number. I did testing. All of them were basically the standard 14-to-1 gearing of just the regular run-of-the-mill V6 cars, baseline cars. So again, that was one reason a third-gen box, in my opinion, still going to be an awesome upgrade, as the stock F body, at least in the 68, is a 17.5-to-1 ratio, which gives it that rowing a boat feeling, driving an old Cadillac. I don't like it. It's not very sporty feeling. It doesn't feel like a rack. That's kind of led me down this path. Also, one thing to remember on car done stuff is you're probably going to do it 2, 3, 4 times before you finally get a decent box that doesn't have a bunch of weird slop you have to adjust. A lot of guys were saying that even with the Iroc swaps, the steering wheel won't return to center very well. I think a lot of that is they just didn't put together that the newer boxes run higher pressure, and the older Saginaw pumps in these things only run like 850 PSI. the newer boxes require, I believe, like 1150 to 1300 or 1250. So it is pretty drastic. And there is a way to shim your pumps and blah, blah, blah. But then I circled right back to, okay, now I got to buy a pump, new pumps. I don't want a reman. Remans are problems in my opinion. So now we're tacking $160 on for this. And then I try to find a reman box, which was not a real great option in my opinion. I don't want to do this with a big block with headers 3 or 4 times and still end up with a box for $100 or $160, whatever they were. So that ruled that out. So I started getting in kind of the mid-range boxes, and there were 3 really good options that I had a hard time picking against. So I went straight to just product reviews, Summit, Jags, Amazon, any forum I could read, you know, Facebook pages, all that stuff, and try to get kind of a good collection on which ones were, you know, a little above the rest is the best way to put it. I wanted to stay kind of in that $500 range, which I was comfortable with. There are options above that, obviously. A Turn 1 has like a $1,000 box. I'll get to that later. But the 3 that I ended up first really being interested in, the Camaro Central box is listed at $488. It's all brand new internals. They actually tell you that it is Iroc internals. It is 2.5 turns, high effort, so it should be pretty good. Not sure who the manufacturer is on it. I don't know if that's really important. The thing with that is, that's kind of nice, is it is a direct bolt-in. It uses the standard SAE threads. You know, you can just take your old box out, stick this one in, your rag joint works, boom, boom, boom. You still have to address the pump though. So I went and looked at Detroit Speed. Great company, great products. They also offer a steering box, which is, they don't tell you is the Iroc internals. It has the 12.7 to 1 ratio. They kind of list it as more of a smoother feel. I don't know if that means that it's a high effort model. It was definitely a top runner for me. Probably number 2 in my choices. It does have the metric O-ring threads, so you have to get adapters that are not included with it, and also a rag joint. So that being said, the one that I actually decided on, from Borgeson, or however you say it, I ended up picking this company. It was $467 from Yogi's Parts in Iowa. Super fast shipping. It's going to be here in 2 days, actually. This is a brand new box. It is a 3-turn, which doesn't bother me much. Still better than the stock, you know, 4-turn or whatever these things have. It does require a rag joint, lower adapter. Those are $72. And also, kind of the reason I leaned towards them is they are the manufacturer. Everything's brand new. And they also have a power steering pump that they manufacture that matches the steering box. That one went a long ways in my decision because I'm not sure who third-party manufactures the rest of the stuff. If there is one, I didn't dig into it for too much, but I did realize that this is actually like a specialty steering company. You know, that's what they do, is steering boxes and pumps. And there were a few options on rebuild. I have a Blazer, a square body Blazer. All the guys rave about Redhead. They rebuild them. There is a core if you don't want to send yours in, that kind of stuff. But again, at the end of the day, I kind of ran right back into, it's basically the same cost as buying new. I don't really care about serial numbers, part numbers matching, that kind of stuff. So that kind of put it out for me anyways on this project. And I couldn't find any YouTube video reviews on it, which I thought was kind of strange, but I could find a ton of written reviews on these boxes in this company. So that's what I ended up dealing with. I'm thinking there's a couple different ways that I'm going to try to test effort, which is the force used when you're driving to basically enable the power steering to assist in a tight corner or something like that. I don't want something super, super tight. That's what everybody was loving about this, the Iroc stuff. You know, I don't want to be fighting it. I had a GTA, a 78 Trans Am when I was in high school. It had the FE2 package, and it drove awesome. I love the 3rd gens. But I'm pretty confident this is the right decision. So I'm going to do a couple tests for it, just with a very basic testing with it parked. I'm not going to be doing any driving tests to risk getting in an accident or anything. And yeah, we'll get to doing a test after a bit. The reason I ruled out the more expensive box, just one more second, from turn one, a couple places, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, so take it as you will, like I did, but it sounds like they're using the same case, the same internals, but tuning their boxes, special tuning or special calibration or whatever you want, that Borgeson uses. I don't know if it's accurate. This is something that I read, but it's twice the price. So there are ways to increase effort by shimming your pump, changing pressures, doing restrictors, if I want to get that far down the rabbit hole of trying to get it exactly what I want to try to mimic a rack and pinion. But for all video purposes at this point, I'm going to just take the original stuff off, unpackage the new stuff, put it on. If there comes any pieces, parts that I missed, or anything specialty that doesn't come with or I didn't think of, I'll let you know. So yeah, we'll just get to ripping this car apart. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. Everybody's cars are different, headers are different. So if you don't know how to take the box off, I'm sure there's tons of videos on that. I'm trying to do more of a product review here. So, all right, let's get to testing. After thinking how to test this thing, I came up with a kind of creative idea to test the effort that they measure for basically how much you have to turn the steering wheel before the power assist or the power steering comes in. That's kind of one of the things that everybody liked about the Iroc box conversion, is that it has a very high effort reading and a T-bar, which I'll explain later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try just at idle, 1,000 RPM and 2,000 RPM with my inch-pound meter, just sitting still, and to measure how many inch-pounds it takes of effort, since I'm not exactly sure how they measure it at the factory or whatever. So this should give me an A to B comparison between the stock box that's on it currently, stock power steering pump, and just where we are stock-ish for a 40 or a 50-some-year-old power steering box. So at idle, it's kind of the free slop. It's probably around 15. Here it's starting to groan a little bit. So I'm somewhere right around 25-ish pounds actually turning the wheels. I'll bring it up to 1,000 RPM. Let the pump work a little more. Yeah, pretty consistent. 22-ish, something like that. You can hear the load on the pump. Turning to the right is easier, just odd, but I have a feeling this box is pretty wore out anyways. Now I'm going to try bringing it up to 2,000 RPM to see how much difference it makes. This should be a fairly decent comparison for road testing. Thrilled about wanting to go for a drive and doing this test, so I'm not going to be risking my car to do it. I'm going to just go ahead and use this as a baseline of it sitting still. Somewhere between 22 and 25 pounds, even at the 2,000 RPM is what I recorded on the original. Now the new box arrived, I kind of want to do a little comparison on size. They are different cases. The original box has the snap ring cap on the end, where this box is just cast all the way around. You can tell I kind of lined it up on my bench here, snout to snout. It's about, I would say, an inch shorter, so that should make putting the new one back in a little easier. I was able to get the old box out without dropping the column from the dash. So far this thing looks very nice. Dust caps everywhere. Comes with the little fittings that you need for converting it over to the standard lines, the non-O-ring or whatever they want to call them. I'm gonna try to get something rigged up in the vise to be able to measure how much play there is in the box itself. I've heard that this new box is very, very, very tight, like basically no play in the wheel at all. So I'm gonna try to rig something up to be able to test the two are there. So I thought the box wasn't too awful bad. This is just an easy way. Put the nut on it so it doesn't hurt the splines or threads. And you can pretty much tell how much play you have in the box. That's fairly substantial in my opinion. I don't know how many degrees that'd be, but gives you a feel for the old box. Mine anyways. Let me try that new one. All right, time for the replacement box. Let's see if we got any play back and forth. Nothing. Probably can't tell from the video, but I'm just barely moving this, and it is actually moving the box. I think I have 0 lash in this new box. That is a good sign to start with. I'm gonna see if I can't pull a measurement from mounting ear to the end of the box. It looks like it's about, I don't know, 3/8 to 1/4 of an inch shallower. So more space for your header as well. Let me see if I can get some kind of a decent reading off that thing here real quick and I'll show you the results. This should be pretty easy. I've got a magnetic straight edge here, level, whatever. I'm gonna see if I can't get just a good measurement. I'm gonna say right at 5 inches by the time you count, maybe just a touch under. So roughly 5 inches, maybe just a hair short by the time you get to the bulge of the case down here. Let's see if I can do this without making a horrible video for everybody. Come on. Nope. It looks like it's actually, if anything, 1/8 of an inch or so wider, which is not good news for us big block guys. That probably had to clearance your header to begin with. Let's see if I can get a little more accurate measurement here. Oh man, it's close. It's gonna be within 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, something like that. I'm gonna call that a wash. If anything, just a hair wider from frame mount to the bulge of the box. We'll see how it goes back in. I'm so excited I'm not gonna mess around much longer. So hopefully I didn't miss anything important. This looks like a nice unit. I'm gonna try to get it slid in the car here quick and get to putting this bad boy back together. All right, we have a power steering box in, and after some a little bit of love to get the headers to clear the new box, it bolts right in. The only thing that you need to keep in mind is the lower bolt. You're not going to see anything. Right here for the box, the one closest to the, I don't know if it focuses, closest to the steering shaft. You got to grind maybe, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch off that bolt, because it does touch the case if you want to tighten it down real good. Otherwise, I mean, if you got some really tight headers, just plan on, yeah, you're gonna have to massage them a little. This box is a little bit wider. I had to dimple these anyways, which isn't a huge problem. I don't really care. There was some cheapo stainless from eBay anyways. Box is in. I did take the metal horseshoe off of the original coupler, and this model anyways, the 68 column has a 3/8 bolt and a 5/16, so I lined all that up. The pump finally came in. The only thing that I saw was different is the type of fitting that you have on the back of the pump. This one is, you know, obviously different. This one's more like an AN style. I want to reuse my hoses, so I called Borgeson, and asked them if there's a problem, since this passage here is just a touch smaller diameter than the new one they have, and the tech said it doesn't matter. So that was my only question, is if it had a different flow rate or whatever, they needed a larger diameter opening. I know sometimes they put a restrictor on these things for whatever reason to increase the pressure, but it looks like it's going to bolt right back in. The location is a little different for the return. Shouldn't be a problem, should hook right back up. I'll get this bracket swapped out back on, and hopefully make a little noise. Now I got the box replaced. Up here I'll just do the same torque wrench test here, just to see what kind of effort it has. I don't know if this is a real great comparison, but it's at least some information. This is pretty much idle. Which looks like it is darn close to the Camaro Iroc box. And the good news is it looks like this one's pressure, left and right, seem to be about the same. Here's 1,000. We'll try to get it closer. 1,000 RPM. Kind of just with the loop, somewhere around 32 to 35, I would say. We'll go up to 2,000 RPM here quick. Still definitely an improvement. Somewhere around 35 inch-pounds, something like that. Now that the swap's done and bled the system correctly per their instructions with the wheels off the ground, took a little over a quart of fluid. They recommended just a good power steering fluid, a Delco. I used a Lucas. I like the brand as well. Driving it is, I really can't believe it. It is a completely different car. You could tell me that we just did a rack and pinion conversion on this thing and I'd believe it. The steering is just precise, it's firm. I don't know how good, it looked like it was pretty accurate, the testing I did with the car just sitting, the different RPMs. It added probably at least 10 inch-pounds of resistance, just at sitting anyways. The feel driving it compared to the original box, it feels like a new car. I cannot express how impressed I am with the upgrade to this thing. I always had kind of a weird, kind of a floaty feeling, like the alignment was bad or something like that. It just very sporadic feeling. You hit a bump and it kind of all over the place. I think it was all in that original steering box. It doesn't feel like an old Cadillac anymore, where you just bear, the ship feeling. I would 100% recommend this. I'm very glad I decided not to go with one of the Reman boxes like I discussed earlier. The customer service with this company is out of this world. I mean, it rings like 2 or 3 times if you call with a question and instantly a tech answers. Their questions are quick. They know what they're talking about. These are going to be my go-to guys for every build that I do in the future. Not affiliated with them at all by any means, but I am just that impressed with their quality of their products. You can tell everything has been tested prior to shipping it out like it should be. The pump, I've seen people complain that the pump shows up covered in fluid. Oh, it's messy. That's awesome. I like that. It shows that they actually tested the pump before they send it. I'm very thrilled with this whole situation. The only 2 things that really took a little bit of effort was the bolt for the steering box, just to shorten it a couple 2 threads, big deal. The last thing that I'll show here in just a second, probably be easier for you. The return on the back of the housing of the pump is in a different location like I showed compared to the original, and it is going to make a difference. Keep in mind for what belt you can use, and I'll show you that in just a minute, and we'll wrap this video up. very, very impressed is the takeaway from this. And honestly, I would be comfortable paying twice as much for this steering upgrade. I was a little hesitant to spend, you know, roughly $500 on just a box, but it was worth every single penny. Pretty hard to beat for the rest of the guys out there making you know, the competitors to this company. So let me show you that port real quick, and thanks for watching. As you can see, the port is pretty close to the ear of the head right here. I do have on the stock adjuster, probably another 1/2 inch maybe of ability to tighten it. What I'm using is a 41.5 inch belt. I do have a 40 inch coming, but I think it's gonna be too short. It's actually gonna press the return nipple against the head. I don't know if it's just something to the big block only, but just keep that in mind. You might have to change to a little bit longer belt to make sure that that thing doesn't hit. Otherwise, 100% easy bolt in. Love the products. I'm gonna really enjoy driving this car this summer.